Welcome to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast, where we're joined by your hosts, Tania Gomez and Paul Bryan. In each episode, we'll be sharing valuable insights and tips to help you turn your NDIS business into a profitable venture. So whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, you've come to the right place. Let's stop surviving and start thriving.
G'day everybody, and welcome to the Profitable NDIS Provider Podcast. My name is Paul Bryan, and I'm here with my brilliant co-host, Tania. Tania Gomez, how are you doing today?
I'm really well, Paul. It is fabulous to be back on the podcast today. And I'm really excited about this topic because everybody knows I love business processes, I love optimizing, I love streamlining. And today we have Kieran Browning from KB Consulting joining us to really look at some interesting NDIS problems and how we can solve them with streamlining operations. And so, Kieran, you have been helping business founders for the last 5 years, and you are a business streaming consultant. Now, I didn't know that that was a thing. I feel like that's what I was born to do with my life, and now there's a name for it. So that's incredibly exciting for me. And I'm really excited to hear more from you to see what I can learn as well to improve how I work with clients around improving their problems also. Do you want to give us a little bit more detail about, I guess, how you got started? What is a business streamlining consultant, and what kind of problems you generally solve with people?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I mean, straight out of university, I worked for a CRM consultant, and a lot of CRM consulting is just process optimization. What is the process? How do we improve it? So that was very interesting to me. And then I worked for a digital marketing agency, and then worked my way up until I was the operations manager, the person that actually makes sure that the client gets the result that they want to get. And a lot of that has nothing to do with marketing. It's really just, how do you manage staff? How do you manage clients? How do you manage expectations? How do you manage processes? And, a bunch of different skills that I never had, but I very much appreciated acquiring them and really liked it. And then helped other digital marketing agencies with their operations as well, and how to make it a bit tighter, a bit faster, make sure that the founder is not having to drown in work and having to do everything, and clear up some growth bottlenecks, and then sort of just expanded from there. But yeah, I mean, it's generally just clearing up the headaches from having a business that is very dependent upon you as the founder. And you're good at the service that you provide, but it's the everything else in the business that becomes a hassle with admin and onboarding and client management and staff management and project management and task management and time management. It's just a headache. And so I come in as an aspirin to help solve that.
I love that. I love that. I think that probably rings true with a lot of our listeners who are just going, that whether they know it or not, they do feel like there's a bottleneck, and quite often they probably realize after a little while that they realize it's them, or the processes or the systems that they're using. I know for a lot of people we talk to, they just sort of hit this point where they reach a ceiling. I can't make more money. I can't bill more hours. It seems to be a common thing that comes up. What does that look like from your perspective? How do you play with that? Yeah.
So, I mean, it is a very accurate assessment of their situation with the current systems and processes and structures and stuff and tools in place. You can't make more money. You have hit your ceiling. So how do you free up the limited resource that is your time to allocate more of it towards billing, or hire someone else who can do billing, but probably free up more of your time? And that requires a level of analysis you probably just never done before, right? This is the only thing I do. I only analyze how people run their businesses that could be done more efficiently. But if you've never done it before, it's covered in fog. It's a cloud. So where would I even begin? Yeah. And every software tells you it'll solve it, and most of them won't. And staff don't really want to change anything, but they're not going to leap out of their desks and be like, here's how you can manage us more efficiently. Please delegate more of these things for you. We promise that we'll get them done just as well as you did, on time, without you having to follow up 100 times. So yeah, it's the realization that everyone will have before they begrudgingly eventually do an audit of their time. And then based upon how well of an audit that is, start to make Either too many changes at once and they get overwhelmed, it doesn't work, or, all right, let's break down what we learned from this and what's one easy change I can make this week. Made that change, went well. What's another easy change I can make the week after that? Bearing in mind, you run a business, it's so hard. You have so many demands upon your time. You still have a life outside of this. You still have to have relationships outside of this, right? You're not coming into this at your absolute peak best to perform at 100%. So there's need to be really, really simple, easy, fail-proof, anti-fragile systems that you're just slowly implementing and going from there. That's the smart way to do it. The very difficult, dumb way to do it is just overwhelm yourself and try a new tool and insist everyone's going to get on it, and they don't.
Are you telling me that the next software is not going to solve my problems, or that next hire is not going to be the magical unicorn?
I mean, they might, right? I mean, sometimes they are, but probably not.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, there's a saying I love is that, I can't remember who said it, but the system is perfect for the outcome it produces. And I think you've nailed that there, that people are just going through these motions and they're hitting that wall all the time. And so, yeah, I even wonder right now, like, you just made me think like, oh, okay, where am I capping myself right now? Right? Because it's something that's always happening, right?
Yeah. And it's never front of mind, right? Operations is operation efficiency as well as the redheaded stepchild of business, right? It's not getting in leads, it's not closing sales, it's not delivering results, it's not following up invoices, right? You don't have to improve it, but if you want a business that runs more efficiently and you want to make more money with less effort, then you do have to eventually do it. So it requires like setting some time aside additionally to work on the business and level up in this area.
Nice. Tania, you're talking with even more providers that I am on a regular basis. What are the problems you're seeing coming up that is based around these system issues?
Yeah, look, I think the next problem that I see all the time is around retention of staff. So in an NDIS business, really the only way you're making money is on the margin between how many staff you have out there delivering support. So support worker goes out, you pay them X, you receive Y, you keep the difference. And so the more support workers out there, obviously in volume, the more money being received. But the problem with that is also in many ways your support workers become your product. They are the people out there delivering the supports, and you can be attracting new clients in the door. But if they're not being retained and the staff aren't being retained, your product keeps walking out the door, and you spend a lot of money training staff, hiring staff, onboarding staff, all of those things, but there's a really high churn rate because everyone's paying the same salary, being under the SHADS award. There's not really any really compelling difference between the work they do with you and the work they do with another disability provider. So it's really easy for a support worker to be allured to another competitor of yours for a few extra perks or a few extra shifts they like, or 3 minutes closer to home, $1 more an hour. All of those things, it's easy to kind of lose staff. So staff retention is actually one of the things that you can do to continue to grow your business. And also attracting and growing staff means that you're going to be able to continue to bill more hours and take on more clients. So I think staff retention is probably the second largest issue that I see. How can we solve that, Kieran, using streamlining of business processes? Yeah.
So every business has this as a problem. This is actually the problem of managing staff, is retention of staff. That's the number one problem, and it's extremely expensive. So lots of thought has been gone into solving it. I mean, functionally, exactly how to solve it is survey your staff, asking them, what do you like about your job? What do you not like about your job? What do you like about the company? What do you not like about the company? What improvements would you like to see? Right? It's like a 2-minute anonymous, or if you've got more than one staff anyway, anonymous, easy to answer, unbiased Google survey can put together in 1 second, or just email them. And from there, find out, challenge your assumptions about what you would assume, challenge your assumptions about what a solution would be. Start with that. And then from there, now that we have ChatGPT or other large language models, even if you've never used them and even if you hate them, this is a very easy implementation. Input all the information you have about your staff into a new chat or project in ChatGPT or Grok or any of them. Just say, here's what I know about this person. Here's what I understand of them. Here's their resume if I have it. Here's where they grew up if I know that. Just and ask ChatGPT what other information would be useful here. Because based upon their personality, their preferences, their birth order, where they grew up, all sorts of random stuff, how extroverted they are, what they're interested in, what their motivations are, drastically will affect the effectiveness of a particular communication to give them feedback or to motivate them or to assign them to do tasks or whatever else, right? So rather than you having to keep all this information in your head and have a 37-point output for a perfect description to motivate someone, just get ChatGPT to do it for you, right? And then based upon the information from the staff survey, information you put into ChatGPT, have a weekly one-on-one 30-minute meeting with that staff member. If you don't want to do that, definitely do it, right? And ask ChatGPT to come up with the agenda for that meeting as well, right? And you're trying to build a relationship here, right? You're trying to set yourself up apart from the competitors who often won't do this, or the meetings are uncomfortable or unpleasant, right? Most business owners cannot give feedback constructively to save their life, or they're too afraid to do it, or there's no opportunity or encouragement or facilitation of the staff member to get what they want. Like, how do you improve in your career? What skills do you want to do? And if you can provide this and others won't, you will make more money because the staff member will be able to do more work with less effort and require less management, less mistakes, and deliver to clients who will stay for longer because you're doing a better job, and they'll want to stay with you as well, right? So there's all these like soft skills which, look, if you've already run your own business, you had to acquire all sorts of much more difficult skills to acquire than this. It's really just survey, ChatGPT, meeting agenda. How do I provide this feedback? Ask ChatGPT. How do I get them to stop doing this? Ask ChatGPT. How do I assign them to do this? Ask ChatGPT. How do I motivate them? Ask ChatGPT. You don't have to learn any of this stuff. ChatGPT is fantastic with this, as are any of the large language models. And so that's, management has become fascinatingly, significantly easier now with ChatGPT if you use it this way.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I think just having uncomfortable conversations into itself prompts growth from both parties. And I like the idea of being able to move fast on these things, because if it's not received well, at least that person's going to, leave because they're not in a position where they want to develop. Or if you're being able to communicate in a way that it's not a good fit, then at least that breaks that thing probably sooner than later, rather than hiding it under the blanket and then 6 months from now still hammering that same issue, which is causing issues, which is causing problems, which is affecting profit margin, which is affecting client retention. So many of those sort of things have a massive flow-on effect into so many other areas. The staff are not where they want to be, enjoying what they're doing. I definitely know another area that a lot of people are really focused on, obviously in NDIS space anyway, organic referrals, massive, because, as we said before, the profit margin is razor thin for a lot of these providers. And so marketing budgets are relatively squeezed. And obviously when people know, like, and trust the business that you're doing, they go, I feel comfortable referring to you. But you can also cap out on word of mouth pretty quickly. So not getting more organic referrals can be a real bottleneck for a lot of businesses. How can you come at that from a systems perspective?
All right, so this is the only reason why anyone really pays CRM consultants, by the way. It's the unearned revenue from the unfollowed up opportunities and from the lack of referrals from existing clients that a CRM software will solve very easily. You don't even need CRM for it. It's not a hard problem to solve, but it's an endemic problem, right? So if you want to view it with a sort of an economics lens, which is useful here, you want to maximize lifetime value, you want to maximize referral value. Right. So how do you do that? Well, do a good job. But the other part of that is get really good at account management. And you can do a good job for someone and they don't even know it because it wasn't communicated to them in their language, the way that they understood it. Right. Again, ChatGPT is great for this. How do I communicate what we're doing, the results that we're getting, the efforts that we're going to in a way that they would understand, having a separate chat for each of your clients. and having something to follow up all of your past clients with as well, right? Something you can give them every 3 months. Hey, we did this thing. Hey, we have this new resource. Hey, have you thought about this tip? Just some nice thing you can give them so that they're like, oh, remember this person. And you come front of mind if someone comes out that might be someone that they could refer to and ask, right? Which is the real reason you're not doing it. You don't want to ask. You don't want to get rejected. You don't want someone to, it's uncomfortable to ask someone. But, if you're providing a favor, you're doing a good job and you get used to doing it, then it's just easier to ask, right? All right, do you know anyone else who would be interested in this? Would you like to continue working? Is there any additional help that I can provide you with? And acquiring the real skill of account management, which is honestly actually more important than being good at your work, is being good at explaining how good you are at your work. Like bad onboarding or bad account management, like I'll fire someone even if they're actually good, because it just doesn't quite fit, doesn't quite mesh, don't quite like it, and it smooths over a lot of cracks as well. And again, not that hard to acquire, but just very overlooked.
Yeah, I often find that people worry about follow-up. I think in this space, maybe more than some, because it is so relational and we're dealing with vulnerable people, that it's salesy. But I see follow-up as just better care for people that you're not yet serving, right? And so the ability to have a process in place for that allows businesses to be able to go, right, here are these leads, we've qualified these people, we actually can help them. So why not put a process in place? Because these are our future clients.
Yeah.
And so having that in place is going to allow people to have a lot more of a longer term goal, rather than where's just the next client coming from? Where's that next referral coming from?
Yeah. You can ruin your own mindset by even calling it a sales process. I mean, it is a sales process, but look, I mean, you can just not help them and you can not help other people, right? That is the other option. And sure, we just won't help them. But is that better? Did you get into this to not help people? Like, you're trying to help them, so be helpful. Do what a helpful person would do and don't do what an unhelpful person wouldn't do. And so if you come at it from that angle, and not as a tactic, not as a stunt, but as a genuinely, like, I'm trying to help people and this is how I'm helping people, getting the word out, I'm trying to do this thing, right? Providing resources and tips and advice and following up and blah, blah. You know who doesn't have this problem? Salespeople. They'll follow up 1,000 times. Right? They're not shy about it. So, and you're better than a salesperson because you're actually trying to help someone. So why are you more shy? Like, be as helpful as you possibly can. And they appreciate it. I'm on the other side of follow-ups all the time. And I really appreciate it. It's like, thank you. Like, I needed to get back to you. I'm busy with this other sort of stuff. You actually can help me with things like that. So really ask yourself, like, am I harassing this person? Am I annoying them? Is this unethical? Really? Because if it is, don't do it. But if it isn't, do it.
I think a lot of providers are at the mercy of somebody else with a better system most of the time. Yeah. And, the people that genuinely care are out there and they're doing amazing work, but they're so worried about feeling salesy or something like that, they are actually leaving so much business on the table. They're not providing the supports they want to. And so they keep hitting this brick wall of, well, why does that business get all the work? Because they've got the system in place to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, if it feels salesy, adjust the approach, adjust the messaging, adjust what you're doing, right? Have an approach that doesn't feel sleazy, doesn't feel salesy, because if at any rate, if you feel disgusting doing it, you're not going to do it regularly, right? You need something that it was easy for you to do, that doesn't require this immense push of willpower and discipline. Like, is a system that is hard to fail. That makes it easier to succeed and harder to fail.
So I have a bit of a question around this idea of, is it possible to optimize the process too much? Is it possible that everything's too sleek and too slick and too optimized, that the person on the other side receiving it feels like it's just a computer and there's no human touch in that? Like, how do you balance the automation and the follow-up sequences and what is a process with ensuring you still have enough personalization and human touches?
Yes, you got to be aware. Yes, basically, but you have to be aware of what you're optimizing for, right? You're trying to optimize for probably return on effort and or return on investment or something like that, trying to optimize for value that they're receiving. So can you provide too much value? Like, probably not. Can you give a campaign that is too high of a return on investment? Probably not. Right now, if it's too automated, if it's time is the only thing you're optimizing for, then yeah, you can, well, this is really fast, but very ineffective and people hate it and they churn out. So you got to remember what you're optimizing for. And it's a number of different conflicting objectives, and we're keeping those in mind. So the goal isn't just has as much time efficiency or as much money efficiency as possible. You got to factor in the other objectives. And you don't want an optimal process anyway, because it's too difficult and it's too time consuming to make. If it's 80% good enough, believe me, that's good enough. The time and effort and focus and projects that you can't implement to get it to absolutely perfect is never going to be worth it, right? Just work on and implement an entirely new other campaign or a new project in the time it would have taken to narrow down the last bit of it.
Yeah, that's great. The reason I ask is that in disability, it's such a human-centered process that when I start talking to people about even simple things like, automating a text message 3 days after or the same day as a participant's first shift, just saying, how was the shift? How did it go? And just automating that, they feel like it's cheating. They feel like if they didn't actually send that message, that the foresight or the intent is somewhat different, because it's more, well, the system will do that, as opposed to it means more if I sit there on my phone sending the message myself.
I mean, if you hate money, sure. Look, you got to take it from the other person's perspective. Right, on the other end, would you either receive the message or not? Okay, because the options are receive it by a robot or don't receive it. I'd rather receive it by a robot. And if I reply, like, I don't care who sends it. Is someone going to read it? Cool, like let them read it. Does it matter in any actual tangible sense if it was messaged because I typed a thing in and then click send in 2 days, or a thing just automatically triggered send in 2 days, or in 2 days I write it and send it? My intention is I want to send this thing in a few days or in a day after, and then I send the thing in a couple days after, either with a little bit of automation or no automation, but the intention is technically the exact same thing. So I get what they're saying, but look, you want to follow them up or not, and you want to make it easy for yourself or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I often find myself writing emails at like 10 o'clock at night and then realizing I shouldn't probably send it right now. So I'll schedule send for 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And we're really just talking about one more step in that process to make it when that message is going to be most applicable. But I might be in a meeting when that really should go out, or I might be delivering a service. I sort of see the whole idea of automation in that sort of space is multiplying your effectiveness of connection, because you can connect at a larger scale. And it doesn't mean that your replies are necessarily going to be automated. Like, you can reply manually to those, but the prompt for that initial outreach can 100% be automated, which just means that it happens rather than you getting too busy and then forgetting to do it. And then it's 6 weeks later and you still haven't sent that email because you got busy 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, like, you're not a better person or a better provider that you manually typed out the message 100 times rather than manually type it out once and then automated it to send out 100 times. The result is literally exactly the same. Right?
Yeah.
You just clicked a few more times for the first option.
Yeah,
So,
amazing.
I have a bit of a question that's a little bit off tangent, but I'm interested in your thoughts on this. You talked quite a lot about how ChatGPT can help with, different business functions. What do you think the future of work is with ChatGPT? What do you think is likely to happen with things like business processes and general day-to-day operations now that we have something as powerful as ChatGPT at your fingertips?
Yeah, I mean, we're already if we didn't have a class divide before, we're definitely going to have one now. And it's the people who are really good at using it versus the people who aren't. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be good for society. However, I do know I want to be on one side of that divide rather than the other. I think if you're let's take writing, for example. If you're a good content writer, now you're a good content writer who can produce 1,000 times as much content. If you're a bad content writer, now you can be a bad content writer who produces 1,000 times as much content. So it doesn't really replace skill, but it does replace output. And if you weren't very good at solving whatever problem whoever was paying you to solve that problem could do, and yeah, you're going to be like, you're in trouble. Like this is, you don't have to freak out, you don't have to panic, but some sort of project in the background where you are trying to not learn ChatGPT, but how to solve the problem that you are employed to solve, either by your employer or by the client or by whoever it is that is paying you to solve whatever problem it is. How do I do this easier or better with ChatGPT? Which micro skills could I acquire? Which processes could be improved? And going it from that angle, I think that is going to be very good. In my own practice, what I've found is if you're an expert, if an amateur is trying to solve a problem that an expert would solve for them, they don't know the right questions to ask. They're not going to hold themselves accountable to it. They'll implement a solution badly, asking, going at it from the wrong angle or something like that. So it's definitely a thing that is far more useful for an expert to provide for someone than for someone to just figure out themselves. And the biggest limitation, honestly, with ChatGPT is the user. Users aren't asking, hey, I have a problem. Here's how I am contributing to it. Here's a problem. I'm not going to address any of how I'm causing it or anything like that. Come up with a solution that I won't implement, and also you're not going to give me an accountability for it anyway. But yeah, it's going to make some people who would have otherwise been wealthy extremely wealthy, and I think people are going to get pushed out if they can't keep up, and a lot of people are not going to keep up. Sorry, guys.
Paul, how are you? Are you doing anything around AI in the work that you do with your providers, and how can we support providers to start using tools like this to help with things like operational processes?
Oh, look, a lot of what we're doing at the moment is a lot of the guys we're working with have dabbled, but don't, not entirely aware of the use and that sort of thing. So one of the first things we're doing is actually just feeding it, right? And so giving it information to play with, helping it distill information in their business, which then allows them to go, if you have a question, so something we actually rolled out just the other week with a couple of guys, was if you have a question, I want you to ask ChatGPT that you've been feeding before you message me.
Yeah.
Right? And so ask the question, get the output, and then let's play with that, because the more you feed it, as you sort of said, the information that goes into it is going to allow you to get much better output. And the more you play with it, the more you learn it, the more it learns you, and you're getting those outputs. I think one of the really important things people need to know is obviously that when you're using it, you want to prompt it correctly. Kieran, how have you found, like in this systemizing space, the ability to get the right prompt into it to get the output? Because as you said, the biggest flaw in AI is the user inputting, right?
Yeah. I think the meta prompt is, here is the problem that I have in extreme detail. Here is what I have tried to do to solve it in the past. I want you to help me solve this problem. And then let it tell you where to start with that, or what additional information would need, or what questions not asking, or where are we going from that. But like really give it a detailed breakdown of like, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve for you? All right, I don't have X, I want X. I don't have enough clients. I don't have enough free time or something like that. And so don't treat it like Google, treat it like an advisor who often lies and is incredibly biased, but is very fast and can give and will answer questions. And these are I use the voice notes almost exclusively ChatGPT, and these are 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, me really, really explaining what problem I am trying specifically to solve, and then going from that. But yeah, I mean, I journal with ChatGPT and sort of use that as a therapist / journal. I mean, if you're going to journal, you may as well journal with ChatGPT. My ChatGPT knows me better than anyone I've ever met, including my girlfriend, including my parents, including myself. And the more you feed it, the more useful it is in that regard. But the meta prompt is, in immense amount of detail, here's the problem that I'm trying to solve. Where do we go from here?
Wow.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, that's amazing. We didn't set out to talk about AI today, but it's been an interesting segue to pick your brain about that. I think that is something that is definitely worth thinking about. Okay, I think that was really great. I guess the last question that I had for you, Kieran, was really around how people can get in touch with you if they wanted to reach out and engage with you around some consulting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my website's www.kieranbrowning.com or YouTube, same Kieran Browning Consulting, or my LinkedIn, on my Facebook, same name. Just Google Kieran Browning, it'll show up. And then from there, you can email me or reach out to me or message me. And yeah, just let me know like what it is that you want to do, what the problem is, like where would you like to go from that? And then from there, I'm generally happy to get in a quick call with you and like, all right, run me through what a plan might be. And then if you want me to help you with this is, how much it would cost. If you want to do it yourself, it'll be harder and it'll take longer, but like, this is pretty much how you would do it. Happy to get on just planning calls with someone like that. And if you want to work with me further, you can do it like that. Yeah. I don't look friendly, but I am, but yeah, go to my website.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that our listeners have had a real think about where those bottlenecks might be, where they could be actually leveraging the systems and processes that are going to allow them to go to that next level, break through that ceiling. Thank you for joining us, mate. Thank you for listening. We will see you guys on our next episode in a fortnight.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Profitable NDIS Provider podcast with Tania Gomez and Paul Bryan. We hope you found today's episode informative and valuable. If you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating, and share it with others who could benefit from our insights. Until next time, keep thriving.